Hello, YouTube. Today I'm going to be talking about, is a game deep? What makes a game deep? What's this definition of deep and depth and things of that nature? Well, the problem is it's oftentimes an ill-defined term. Ask a couple of different people what they mean by deep gameplay, and you're going to get a couple of different answers. Traditionally, it seems like it usually boils down to one of two types of skill sets, for lack of a better term. One of them being deep gameplay, as in Twitch based reaction mechanics that require people to push their reaction time skills. Think of mini games in Fable, for instance. They were built along these lines. The golf swing mechanic that's been proposed in Star Citizen here recently is an example of this type of mechanic. In Elite Dangerous here, you have your kill warrant scanners, which kind of operate on this kind of mechanic where you have to scan and keep the target in front of you. So there's a little bit of reaction time to keep your nose on target within a small cone in order for that sensor to work. Then on the flip side of this, you have what I call knowledge-based mechanics. Ones that you have to know information plus have an understanding in order to grasp. And this runs the gambit in MMOs, a lot of times to understand how various gameplay mechanics interact in order to get the most out of, knowing when to deploy the right, say, spell at the right time or use the right potion at the right time. And having this knowledge and information, quote, makes the game deep. If you want an example of that in Elite Dangerous, take a look at the SRV scanner versus the kill warrant scanner. In the SRV scanner, you get these echo kind of location returns. And you have to know what the different band and signatures mean. 2 bars in the low band probably means a chondrite. Not going to be great materials, but, if you're looking for just the basics, to go there and shoot it. Or possibly an outcropping. If it's a single line, it's going to be probably a mesometeorite or a metallic meteorite, depending on the planet you're on. And, those typically have a little bit better resources. But then if it's 2 bars up in mid-band, that means it's an artificial structure of some kind. Could be canisters, could be a base of some kind. A mining outpost, a pirate outpost, maybe a wrecked ship, something of that nature. And then if it's a high band, it's usually something like a crashed satellite or something like that. So having to know and understand and be able to interpret what those signatures return basically is a knowledge-based mechanic. I'm kind of being very simplistic here. And when you get these two camps kind of saying, well, nope, that's shallow. Oh, no, it's not shallow. It's fine and all of this. It's because they have different level of expectations. And this goes back to the point of, well, what were the expectations that you set out? And if, in the case of Star Citizen, where this controversy really kind of hit the head last week, or the end of last week when they revealed some stuff on ATV and RTV, it was kind of interesting because I think it's the first time that I've seen the community in a while, even the most ardent supporters, take a step back and go, this isn't what we were told 3 years ago. Now, that's a whole topic for another video, but what was said 3 years ago is probably all null and void at this point, considering the people who said it have left the company 2 years ago. But again, that's a topic for another day, another video. And why people were kind of feeling disappointed about this is, if you recall, 4 years ago, with the initial pitch of Star Citizen, and throughout the first year, throughout 2013, there were a lot of comments made by, well, Wingman, Rob Irving, Chris Roberts himself, along the lines of, well, this wasn't a game being designed for the mass casual audience. It was designed for people who wanted to go beyond that, to another level of depth. And to a lot of people, that meant something, let's say, like DCS F-15C or Flaming Cliffs 3. Now, people will go, but DCS is a complex flight simulator. Well, you know what? It actually ranges the whole spectrum. Flaming Cliffs and its related aircraft that you can buy individually, the F-15C, the Su-25T, I think it is, and the A-10A, are very simplified aircraft. There's not 100 switches modeled in the cockpit. The systems are very basically modeled. You need to know about 20-25 hotkey commands in order to start the aircraft. The startup procedure takes about, 90 seconds before you're taxiing, and within 2 to 3 minutes you've taken off. Whereas in A-10C, that procedure takes about 6 to 7 minutes because you got to wait for things to calibrate in a line. And you have 150 cockpit commands and or switches to flick, and you have to know what they all essentially do in order to operate that aircraft, where in DCS Flaming Cliffs, it's kind of, You hit one, I think it's 1 for guns, 2 for long-range missiles, 3 for short-range missiles, 4 for something else, I think, on the Russian aircraft. At any rate, you just hit the right thing, but you still have to know how the radar operates. And I think a lot of people take a look at the radar in, say, F-15C, which you have to know that each one of the lines splits the distance in a quarter. So if you're looking 80 miles out at that range and something is at the first bar, that means it's 60 miles away. You have to know what the difference between a circle and a square return. Circle is an IFF friendly. Square is an unknown. For all intents and purposes, you assume hostile. And then a few other things, like if they're sending out ECM or electronic countermeasures and it screws up your radar, what do you have to do in order to counteract that? Those are knowledge and understanding. You have to know the information and then understand how those things work in order to utilize that component of the game mechanic. And to me, that expresses depth. It's just not something there that is dependent on whether you're 15 years old, 30 years old, or 50 years old. And because that's oftentimes what Twitch reaction skill mechanics base down to. But somebody who is an avid FPS player or has very good reaction time and Twitch-based skills and stuff like that, they'll want to, of course, skew the game towards their preferred method. They don't want to have to think. They want to have to react because they're good at reacting. Maybe they're playing games because they don't have to sit down and think. Where other people like myself want to sit down, and whenever we play some of these games, yes, I will happily fire up a Steel Ocean or a World of Warships or something like that, a War Thunder, and play a couple of mindless rounds every now and then. But after a while, it's kind of one of those things of been there, done this, there's nothing else left to master. Then, I got back into flight simulators because War Thunder. I got into there and was like, well, this almost makes me want a real simulator. And then I finally decided, let me just go back to real simulators and get the depth of experience that I was frankly seeking there. And I know other people that are looking for that level of depth too and are getting back into flight sims, ironically enough. Well, let me know what you think depth means in the comment section down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, see you later.